Welcome back to the Craic, everybody. Do not adjust your monitors. I know it's Thursday. We are all very aware that it is in fact Thursday, not Friday, but you lucky dogs, you've got a Craic today. It is your usual injection of Friday magic, but this time it's on Thursday. Now, I said monitors at the start there, but I should also say, don't adjust your TV sets, because we are apparently live on the Yahoo Sports Network, and we are very excited about that. Now that we've gone big time, you know, we're on TV and everything, no big deal, whatever. We're going to have to do some commercials. So, I mean, get used to it, guys. We are big time now. With being big time comes commercials. That is the way this is going to have to go. But you will still have, as you always get, my beautiful crackheads, a lot of MMA talk from two brilliant minds. And they are with us today. Let's bring them in. Ben Fowlkes, Chuck Mindenhall. We're all here, lads. How are you? Congratulations on making it to TV. How are you, Ben?
You know, this really puts it in the face of the 7th grade teacher who told me that the only way I'd ever be on TV is on an episode of Cops where they're making sure I don't bonk my head on the door as they shove me inside. So who's laughing now?
In your face.
Yeah, I'm doing great. So it only took me like 45 years of living to make it onto TV, but I'm pretty stoked to be here.
It's amazing. Chuck,
Somehow I've had the opposite. Ben, do you remember back when they had MMA Live on ESPN? For some reason, I was cast on that all the way back in like 2010 or 11. And so this is like a full circle moment. I'm back on TV after all these years. I thought I was just going to keep going into podcasts and then wherever that heads, whatever dark tunnel that heads towards. But here we are back on TV. Who knew?
Lads, what a moment. What a moment. Look at all of us in this amazing moment. Listen, crackheads, we are still your boys. Don't worry about that. We've got a lot of shit to talk about today. We have Khamzat. Am I allowed curse now that we're on TV? I'm sorry. I dropped one, okay? I'm probably going to drop several more. You know how I speak, guys, okay? This is just the way it's going to go.
The censors will beep that out. Don't worry.
Yeah, they'll beep it, you know? Of course they will. 10-second delay, all that kind of stuff. Khamzat Chimaev, lads. I have not got to speak to you guys about this yet. A lot of people saying he's boring. He has returned to Russia. He has been embraced by Chechen dictator Ramzan Kadyrov, who we've talked about before. Back together at last. There they are. You know, a big deal. I think he's one of the big stars in the UFC at the moment. So we're going to discuss what this kind of looks like. I will say, like, you know, and I said this on the post show with Ariel on Sunday morning. You know, I was kind of blown away by the amount of people that were onto me all week. Like, it kind of felt like the first time in a long time where they had a fighter in a main event who was challenging for a title where everybody was really interested in him. Like, my old friends who probably hadn't been watching that much since the McGregor days were really into him. They were waking up. They were going to watch the fight. A lot of people in Europe in general were very excited about this. I'm wondering, with all this talk, Chuck Mindenhall, this boring stuff, I mean, does this dampen the situation at all for Chimaev, who I feel is one of the biggest stars in the books of the promotion at the moment?
I don't think so. I mean, and I didn't get a chance to hang with you guys and talk about it, but I didn't find it particularly boring. You know, it's like that seems like the wrong word for what we watch. It's more like, you know, like watching a guy rendered helpless, and you're like, this is so futile that it almost becomes its own piece of theater. Back in the day when Khabib was, you know, kind of on his rise, he had that moment. I think it was against Abel Trujillo, and it stood for a long time. It was like, he had like 21 takedowns, if I recall. It was like 21 takedowns. I was sitting there cage side, and I remember thinking it was just almost mesmerizing how he would just, as soon as he was corrected, as soon as it was up, I think it was like, whoom, back in on his legs, dumping him down again, and it became like, you know, just such a sheer like demonstration of dominance that it became fascinating to me. That's what this reminded me of. It was like that you were watching a guy who everything in his movement is telegraphed. You know exactly what he's going to do, but you had DDP who could not stop it. And to me, that's like, I don't know, because we know how hard that is. It's not easy. Even if you're watching a guy who's known as a wrestler or whatever, you know, people prepare to keep the fight standing, or they prepare to thwart things. You know what I mean? Like they're going to prepare. It just felt like nothing that DDP could do was going to get him through on that fight. So to me, it was just kind of more like that, just domination. And let's not forget, man, like we're such a, I think the gambling and all that really plays a role into like how we view these things. But this is a guy in 9 fights, he has 6 finishes. It's not like he's has 9 straight finishes, and all of them go the maximum. He never threatens to finish a guy anywhere in the fight, right? Like this was probably the first time where it might have had that a little bit, but it was so dominant that honestly, man, I was like, you got to secure the title. I had no problem with this performance.
Ben, what say you, sir? You've been a man who's known to wrestle a man on a mat many occasions throughout your life. I mean, are you looking at this going, listen, mate, go for a choke, take his back, do something? What were you thinking as we were watching this?
I think that the response to it shows you the gap between expectations and reality in the fight. Because I think the thing that made people turn against him here was that everybody came in with the Khamzat smash mentality that he's, you see him start the fight, he's kneeling down there, he's smiling in a what can only be described as a malevolent fashion across the cage. He's gonna come out there and get right after you. And the way we've seen him fight in so many prior fights is that he's taking you down and he's just beating you while you're there. He is immediately looking for submissions and looking to finish the fight very early on. And so here was a little different approach because the first round, he only needed one takedown in that first round. Got DDP down. DDP could not do anything about it. Got him in the crucifix, just peppered him with punches. And I think that was a little bit of a surprise to people because they were expecting a different Khamzat. But you also have to remember, this is a big one for him. This was the title fight. This is the one he's been waiting for. He goes out there. He realizes early on, yep, I can take this guy down and I can keep him down. No problem. I just got to do this 4 more times and I'm the new middleweight champion. If people don't like that, I think if you're Khamzat, you go, okay, fine. They cannot like this one. If I come out and go right back to Khamzat smash against the next guy, they'll forgive it. And I also think that, Chuck, you mentioned that Khabib fight with Abel Trujillo where he set the takedown record. And one of the things that I remember was part of the conversation after that was people were going, the only way you set a takedown record like that is if you fight the full distance, you can't finish the guy, and he keeps getting up. Because if you are so good on the ground, you're taking the guy down and then you're finishing him there or you're keeping him there. In order to take a guy down 21 times, you got to let him up 20. So that I think is a little bit part of what we're seeing here. I also think that because he was so dominant, people are looking at it and going, you seem like you could do anything to this man. Why are you not finishing him then? Why are you not putting him away? Do you not respect our time? We got to sit here. But I also think if you're Khamzat, he's heard the same criticisms. He knows the game plan people are hoping for against him. Everybody says the guy starts fast. If you can get through the first round, he will fade late in a fight. Now, it didn't happen here the way I think a lot of people thought it might, just because DDP was not making him work in those first few rounds. He's not going to tire all on his own, especially when it's easy to kind of keep you there. You got to make him do more. But he did get less effective with his game plan as the fight went on. Like he was 100% on takedowns through the first 3 rounds. You get into the 4th round, I think he went 3 of 5. You get into the 5th round, I think he went 3 of 6. And his control time goes down each round. The best moment of the fight for DDP happened in the last minute of the last round. So there is still that like a little bit of a drop off. He hears that. He's aware of that. He's conscious of it. And so he's going out there being like, pace yourself. Don't spend everything. The key here is get that belt. And once you do that, then your calculation becomes a little different.
I mean, can you imagine if he had taken some crazy shot down the stretch into the championship rounds? He's like, all right, let's play it cautious now. It just wouldn't have made any sense for him. Like if you got the fight going the way you want it. Now, maybe he could have tried some stuff. There were a couple of times where it looked like he was in position, and it did look like he was maybe, trying to get like, under the chin here or there. It wasn't like he was refusing to do that. But I'm like, I don't know, like, it's just one of those type of things when you watch that type of dominance, man. Yeah, I don't know. I lost my train of thought there, boys. I don't know. This is TV.
It's TV.
This is TV. So
happens, you know what I mean?
He
TV,
did
this
look
is what
for a submission. He wasn't credited with any submission attempts, which I thought was a little, because there was definitely one where he's on his back. He's looking to get under the chin. He's looking for a choke a little bit, but he wasn't really committing to any of that stuff because clearly his job one was keep this guy down, stay on top position. But you're right. He gave DDP just a little bit of an opening in the 5th round, and DDP almost did something with it. Now, if he had been able to finish Khamzat there, he got his back, he went for the choke. If he'd been able to finish him, we would not be sitting around here right now being like, good for Khamzat for taking some chances and trying to entertain us. We would have been like, you idiot, you
Yeah.
blew it.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I was going to mention. Yeah, thank you for picking that up, Ben. But I mean, like that's what I'm trying to say. Would you rather have the hate of a dominant fight in the end, or like if he'd done something stupid down the stretch? You know what I mean? Like that's what we'd be talking about. What an idiot he was, like to have blown the fight that he was cruising through.
I told the TV people there they've edited that out. That nobody
Thank you,
will know that
Petesy.
happened. No problem. I can do that. I was wondering though, is this a condition based on how the UFC have talked about fighting for the last few years specifically? Um, Martin Buday is gone. He is a very successful heavyweight with 7-1 in the UFC, and they're suddenly like, we're not winning in the right way. You're gone. We had Muhammad Mokaev, who like
Yeah.
in a time when we're crying out for flyweight contenders, this guy looked pretty much so dominant, doing exactly what Khamzat basically did in his title fight against DDP, wrestling people. There wasn't a finish. And there's also like Dana White's Contender Series. It goes back to season 1, Brendan Loughnane. And Loughnane goes against Bill Algeo, who's Bill Algeo's fought in the UFC about 15 times now. But Brendan Loughnane puts on a clinic against him, fights a very exciting fight, but does not finish. And immediately afterwards, Dana's like, we actually want killers in the UFC. We don't. This sports shit, no, not interested. Okay. We don't want another fucking GSP in here. We want a killer. And I feel like this is kind of, he's conditioned, especially new fans of the sport, to think that being good at MMA is not good enough, Ben. Do you disagree or agree with me, Petesy Carroll?
I do think it's been the case for a long time that you can be the best in the world at this sport and it not really mean anything for you. We've seen Demetrius Johnson's career is a good example where he was the pound for pound best in the world, arguably, for a long time, and it did not make him a star. It did not even make the UFC like him very much. So this is one of the only sports that works that way. I mean, if you're the best quarterback in the world, you are a star, no matter what. If you're the best pitcher in baseball in the world, you're a star and you're a multimillionaire. And it doesn't quite work that way here. There's more that goes into the calculation. I also think, though, this is one fight. Khamzat Chimaev goes out there and has one fight that's a little bit of a letdown. He fought a smart fight. He at no point, except for that brief scare in the 5th round, was he ever really in any danger. It's a way to guarantee your victory. I think a lot of us, if you were out there, you had that much at stake, and you realize early on, oh, I could just do this. I don't need to risk anything. I don't need to get hit. He only took like 30 something and strikes in the entire fight. Like, I don't need to risk damage. Why would I to get the UFC title?
Arman Sarukian said something like that. He was basically like that. They were like, why alter? Don't alter anything. Keep doing what you're doing.
I also think there's a fair question to be asked here, especially as we head toward 2026 and a new TV deal that does not include pay-per-views. That's no longer going to be part of the calculation. Even these guys who have it in their contracts now that says, if you're a champion, you get a piece of the pay-per-views. If there are no pay-per-views, then there is no piece of pay-per-views. The UFC is going to be all on Paramount Plus, CBS, all that stuff, but they're not going to give you any of that money. So what does it matter if you are popular as a UFC champion? You're not getting a cut of viewership or broadcast revenue. You're not getting a cut of ticket sales. Merchandise isn't really going to be much of a thing. Sponsorships aren't going to be much of a thing, except for, the people who already liked you before now and want to support you, even though you can't wear their logo into the cage. So what does being popular give you in terms of cold, hard cash that you're going to be missing out on if they don't like it? As long as you keep that belt, they got to keep working with you. They got to keep getting you fights. You get your contracted money. You weren't going to get any more than that anyway. So what's the difference? Why do you care? Why is it now worth a risk to be a popular fighter who people want to see fight?
Yeah. Well,
great point.
saw, as we mentioned at the top of the show, we've seen Chimaev return home. He has given Kadyrov the belt here, as we can see at the airport. For a long time, and I don't think this was ever confirmed, we believe that the reason why he was having such struggles with his visas and things like this were due to his appearances with Kadyrov over the years. He's been to different ceremonies with him. We've seen him dancing in front of gatherings at Kadyrov's house. We've talked about this as well. Recently, Ben, we were kind of saying like it is a difficult spot for fighters to be in. We've highlighted this before. You can't exactly, say no. No, actually, rather not do that. I'm just popping down to my local to say hello to the lads. Thanks very much for the offer. Listen, the G Wagon's lovely, but I prefer my Ford Focus. It's not one of those situations. But Chuck, like, because we've been in this situation before, where we've thought that this was a problematic thing for Chimaev's career, to see him immediately show up in a situation like this as the newly crowned champion, is that problematic? Do you think, for the UFC?
I mean, it should be, and it's funny because in the lead up to this fight, it didn't seem like he really wanted to field these questions. He was like, I don't really want these affiliations. Like, this is, whatever. He just kind of was distancing himself. And yet he is probably the most tied in politically in these ways than anybody else going right now, right? Because first of all, the visa issue you mentioned, Trump has to kind of make that go away for him to be able to fight in Chicago. And then he returns. And what's the first thing you see is him with Kadyrov. So it's a bad look, but it's not. It's this fan base. What I've realized over the course of time is it's not like other sports. It's not. I don't really feel like it's mostly us going to talk about it, right? We're going to talk about stuff like this, but I don't know how many fans really care about these affiliations, and that's kind of been the case with Kadyrov, and specifically because we've seen a lot of the fighters who've had affiliations. This one just seems much deeper, in some more personal sense than we've probably seen, but it really doesn't. I don't think it's a bad look. No matter how you look at it, if we used to always worry about what do other sports or other like kind of seasoned veterans of media like looking at this, what do they see? And they, you would think that the horror, but somehow we've carved out a space where people just don't treat it, any differently. You know what I mean? Like they just see it and like, well, that's fighting. And I feel like that's kind of still the space we're in all these years later. It also obviously like when the UFC became basically a wing of the Trump administration, and they're doing all these things. I mean, obviously, they're not too worried about the polarizing the audience anyway. So I don't know however you want to look at that, but I don't think they worry about it at all at this point.
Ben, what do you think like of a situation like this, like sports watching and fighting in general? Like, I mean, people using sports to, alter their public image internationally is it's been going on for years. I mean,
yeah,
we were talking.
I think the Kadyrov one I think is a little bit worse than that because he does not really seem that concerned with public image. He's not a guy who's out there just being like you don't get a whole lot of Visit Chechnya ads, that there's not like they're trying to do with like Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, or something like that. He seems like what seems worse about it is the MMA team that they run sort of directly feeds into what you might call his personal militia. And it's a recruiting tool in that way. And it's a training tool. It's like, hey, show up for our MMA team. If you're one of the top 1%, you can go pro. You can be like this guy, Khamzat Chimaev. Here's a cool car we gave him. If you're the bottom 99%, you can still join the militia. We'll give you guns and you can go around and like terrorize gay people in Chechnya. Like that's the kind of stuff that they're doing. And he's not really concerned whether anybody likes it or not. Like who it's a bad look for, honestly, is us. Because this association of his was enough to cause a visa issue for him before, and then the UFC is so ideologically aligned now with the Trump administration that they can just be like, hey, do us a favor, and the Trump administration is like, hey, yeah, we don't see the warlords as that big a thing, honestly. We're kind of like them, a lot of them, so like, sure, that's no problem, green light, he can come over here. I do think Khamzat is in a tough spot because some of those comments he made seem like in leading up to the fight seem like the closest we've heard him come to being like, I wish you guys would leave me out of this. I'm just trying to train and fight. This is a guy where his most of his career took off when he was in Sweden. He seems like he would just like to do the fighting part and manage his own career, and he's doing this stuff because you kind of have to, or you're going to create problems for yourself and your family back in Chechnya. That doesn't like totally excuse it, because you do the first order of business is you take that belt and you go show it off for the dictator and accept his lavish gifts and all that. And plus, when you see these guys, you see these pictures of these guys hanging out, they seem to be having no fun.
Exactly.
They just
That's
seem
what,
like just no fun is
Such
being
a good
had with
point.
those
you
guys.
see all the like kind of like the hugs are just this like, oh, this very reluctant thing that they're doing, man. They're like not real hugs. It's very strange. Every time they show them, I think that it just seems so oppressed. Just the look of it looks like that.
But it's, yeah, I think that he probably, if he had his way, would just steer clear of that. He does not seem like super ideologically driven in any way. He seems just very focused on his fight career, and he has to deal with this one way or another, but he did not seem eager to talk about it. And so I feel like he's kind of going to do the bare minimum he can. It's just that as you become champion and get greater visibility, the bare minimum itself, the expectations there become greater.
Well, we heard from Bryan Battle earlier this week on the Ariel Helwani show. The outlook was pretty good, but it seems as though he has been cut. We have to talk about that. We have to talk about a lot of welterweight drama. Sean Brady saying different things about Ian Garry. Ian Garry telling Prates, Leon's not going to fight you over there. There's a lot of things being said about Leon Edwards right now. I don't know how comfortable I am about all this, but we are going to talk about all of that right after this break. Get out quickly. We're back. Sorry. The makeup guy was just in here. Well, sorry. I hope I still look good. Welcome back to the Craic, everyone.
What was he doing under your desk? What was going on?
Hey, whoa. Welcome back. It's me, Chuck, and Ben. That was an ad. And now we're going to talk about Bryan Battle, lads. He has apparently been cut from the UFC. Ben, we kind of knew, right? We kind of knew there was some trouble a brewing with the old miss weight situation. We're on the Craic last Friday. We're kind of saying, you know what? You know who doesn't like this kind of shit? It is the UFC. Turns out they didn't like it, Ben.
No. Especially, you're going to miss weight 2 times in a row in 2 different weight classes. That's a bad look, man. That's just such a bad look. It's because you miss weight the first time, you go out there, you win the fight anyway. And he had some comments where he was like, hey, don't complain afterwards. You took the fight. I won. Sorry I missed weight. But, and then he's like, I'm going to go up and wait. That's the thing I got to do here. And we all go, all right. So that's the end of that weight miss, right? And it turns out, nope, you're going to miss weight up there too. And it just paints a bad picture of what's happening with you. You got to know when you go up and wait for the next one. You absolutely cannot miss weight there. However, it does highlight some stuff about where the UFC is at, because Bryan Battle's a good fighter. and seems like he has a good future and is an exciting guy, a guy who has managed to stand out at a time when it is not easy to stand out on a crowded UFC roster. And for them to look at that and go, you know what, we can cut that guy. That tells you something, that they're not worried about a competitor is going to scoop him up and we're going to lose this guy who ends up being a star, ends up being a good asset for somebody else. We're not even worried about that. We can take a guy who is an Ultimate Fighter winner, who seems like he has a bright future, and we can go, you know what, we're mad at you, so go away now. And that they're not at all concerned about giving him over to somebody else who might be in a position to promote him, which tells you something about how confident they feel in their position overall in the sport, but also how they feel like, hey, he's going to want to be back in the UFC anyway. You know, that's what his focus is going to be. We can say no to, we don't need any of these people. They're all kind of interchangeable to us. And, we'll see you down the road if you get your weight stuff together.
And they've kind of like, he's kind of dotted, along the way, like had some high marks. Like he came up on tough, right? Like it was like he came up on tough. So I felt like people kind of paid him attention as he came out. But man, it's crazy to think that like as of last September, not quite a year ago, he cut that great promo. I did a whole piece on him, after that card in France where he was like, chastising and antagonizing the French crowd and saying like, nobody's going to beat the butcher and Frenchman's not going to beat the butcher. And I really believed, I was like, this is a guy who just kind of showed like how to handle a microphone again. Like, it seemed to me, especially as they booked him against Randy Brown, like he was on the verge of actually doing something pretty big. I don't know about stardom, but I felt like he was heading that direction, like he'd gotten his name. And then that whole weight miss, it felt like it derailed him in a big way, and especially the way he handled it. And if I recall, it was such a close fight. I remember at the time thinking he lost the fight. I don't know if you guys remember it. It was like a very close fight. And then for this one to happen, like you said, at the new weight class, and I think both times it's like egregious, like 4 pounds, 5 pounds. Like he was not close to the. I think that you just put the UFC in a, the UFC would kind of look bad if they didn't. Set like basically cut you for that, because that's the kind of miss that you're not professional. And I didn't think that it was extra satisfactory, like when he was coming on and talking about why he missed. It's kind of like, man, just kind of didn't get dialed in right for this one. You know what I mean? So I wasn't surprised at all, but I think to Ben's point, like 7-1, I think he's 30 years old. He's a guy who's just kind of coming into his prime and does have potential to be a standout kind of fighter that way. It's crazy that the UFC can do that. I don't think they could. I don't think they would have done that a few years ago. I think that that's a now thing.
Yeah, just on that point, like I've noticed this with, prospects in the European scene that used to be snapped up by the UFC as well. Like they don't, like, if you don't want to come in here and do what we want you to do, we don't care. Like with the likes of Hughes and guys like that who are just like, oh, you don't want an entry level deal in the UFC? See it. Like they are such a machine at this point. Like, and I can remember we had Al Shadi on not so long ago, and I was kind of saying like, this is gonna bite them in the ass at some stage. And I know we're nowhere near that right now. Like they are killing it. They've signed this new broadcast deal, and again, I'm not necessarily saying they're wrong for doing this to Bryan Battle either, but that's that general kind of, you either want to be with us or go and do whatever the hell you want to do. We don't care. We're not going to fight for you, and we're not going to. You just don't get the same feeling like back in the day where they're combing through the European scenes, where the matchmakers were really trying to isolate the talents in different aspects. Like the UFC is just taking what's coming through the managers that they deal with, and that's the way it is. And I think just Ben speaking about the fact they kind of will take or leave like one of the top 30 welterweights in the world kind of reminded me of that. Speaking of welterweight, lads, there's been a bit of drama, and I know Chuck Mindenhall and Ben Fowlkes love themselves some drama. Are you ready to get into this? Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone watching on TV, say yeah. Are you ready to get into some welterweight drama?
Yeah.
Buzzing. Roll the Sean Brady clip, please.
So I got a call from my manager right around International Fight Week. So at the end of June timeframe, about me and Ian fighting in Chicago. I said yes. Didn't hear anything for weeks. I'm assuming the UFC moved on. Recently, they hit us up. They said me and Ian main event in Vancouver. I said yes immediately. yes, let's go. I've been wanting to fight since May, and these were the only ones I've been offered. I said yes twice. Now, I don't know why Ian's fucking was dragging his feet or whatever he was doing, and now they put in RDR and Fluffy. So now, once again, we're sitting and waiting. So, thanks, Ian. Just lost another main event because of you, my man.
Oof. I mean, they are big words from Sean Brady all the way over there in Philadelphia. It is dramatic, Ben, to say the very least, what's going on here. I'd fucking love that fight. I mean, I'd flip and love that fight. And I guess that's my main takeaway.
My main takeaway is, do we have to do this while driving through a tunnel or whatever?
Okay, Mr. calling into Ariel's show from the tunnel that time.
I just don't understand.
He wasn't really in a tunnel, I don't think.
Go ahead. MMA fighters would have us believe that they are the busiest people in the world, because even when they are filming a video in which they update us on their careers, we can't even park the car. No, we can't set up a nice environment, think about background a little bit.
Half of Ariel's interviews are from a car. You know what I mean? Like I said I would do that one time. I was like, one of these times when I'm going to be on there, I'd just show up in my car, like.
And see, that's the thing. It's like somebody asked me to go on their show, as they have before. I've been on, like, I've guest on people's shows, and if they asked me at a time when I had to be driving in the car, I would be like, well, obviously I can't do it then. I'm going to be in the car. I don't understand. I think
that they go to the car specifically for the interview. I think that that's what they're doing.
I think there are definitely some people, we might talk about him later on. Sean Strickland loves to pour his heart out in the front seat of the car while looking at like Instagram Live or something. And maybe there's something soothing about it, or something that feels like a safe space to them. I'm in the driver's seat of my car. Nothing bad can happen to me here. Like, I can say whatever. I get it. I'm getting distracted here. Because, I mean, if that really is the situation, what he outlined, I don't blame him for being frustrated with that. It is nice to see that here's the situation right now at welterweight. You've got so many different interesting fights that you could make there, and you get an opportunity to kind of pick and choose what we want to do, when and where. But if I'm Ian Garry sitting around, I'm doing like, all right, first things first, let me go get in the car, fire off an answer. You gotta come back with something here, right?
Dude, that's hilarious.
It is that fight, though, right? Like, I love the idea of that fight because it immediately gives us the next guy to fight for the title. Like, the winner of that fight, surely, Shavkat, we don't know what's going on with him. This sport this promotion, especially recency bias, will do a lot for you. I think if those two guys fought you, the winner's next in line. For sure,
because
right?
I think Bilal, like, on the official, like, whatever the UFC rankings, like, Bilal is up there. They're not trying to rush him into a shot, right? Like, so I think Sean Brady's right there anyway. It seems to me like if you're in Gary, that would make sense. If that's, it's also a huge narrative shift from, like, the Ian Garry we were talking about just a couple of months ago, the guy who was the backup fighter for a title fight, and he had stood in there against Prates, right? Like, it felt like he was saying that, hey, I just want to fight anybody. I'm ready to go. So this is a huge narrative shift in a short amount of time. I never know in the fight game what is true anymore. Like, you hear one thing and then you get the extreme other side of it. I never know where it's coming from. But that doesn't seem entirely Gary-like to me. Does it to you, PT? Like, it feels like he would.
No, he is. He is a very willing guy. Like, he is. I think the trouble with Ian since his amateur days was trying to get him to calm the fuck down. Like, trying to get him to not fight people is probably the biggest issue they were having with him, Sorry, Ben, I cut you off there, mate.
I do think that one thing you're seeing with a lot of these guys, they get up high enough in the rankings and they get a lot less willing to fight other top contenders, because they kind of think, I'm already here. Especially somebody like Ian Garry, where he's like, I'm a name already. People know me. I can sell a fight. I can promote a fight. If I just wait around, then maybe the title fight comes to me without me having to do anything, either because somebody else falls out of the title fight and I'm in a position to say yes, or just like when the next opportunity rolls around, I feel like promotionally I'm in a better position than somebody else is. And so it gets a lot harder to make those fights once you're talking about trying to match up at like number 5 versus number 3, number 4 versus number 2, stuff like that, because they kind of feel like I'm here. I don't need to prove anything else. But I do think the UFC has long done this in a way that a lot of other combat sports haven't, where they'll take the top contenders and smash them against each other and say, when the dust clears, whoever's left standing, that's the guy who's going to fight for the title. And that makes for exciting fights for fans, and it makes it so that you do end up a lot of times with a very clear contender that can't be argued over. But it also makes it so that we've seen some people who had such a tough path up to the title that by the time they got there, that they were damaged goods a little bit to some extent. So I can't really blame a fighter for trying to be smart on his, like, how he's picking his path to the top.
Well, Ian Garry is not yet. As far as I know, it might have happened. Look, we are on live TV, guys. This could have happened. But what I want to tell you is he did have something to say about some welterweights. And Ben, I want you to brace yourself because
here we go.
I'm very impressed
where
he did this call from. Go ahead on there, Jordan.
There's no chance Leon Edwards is saying yes to fighting Carlos Prates in Rio. Let me tell you this. I told Carlos this when I seen him in Las Vegas. He will run from that fight. Leon, his entire career, has been saying how he's sick of fighting wrestlers and he's always fighting people who want to take him down. He wants to fight people on the feet. Carlos Prates will stay on the feet with you. And guess what? He's going to turn it down.
We missed out where he goes to the Portuguese. He starts talking in Portuguese. Anyway, go ahead.
Ben, what you think, man?
This one, he's talking to someone holding the phone in the passenger seat, right? Like the other one, at least it looked like Sean Brady had the thing where you set your phone up on the dashboard so that you'd be hands-free looking at your map, and it's less distracted driving. I won't exactly call it safe driving still. This one, he's doing it like a 80s TV show where he's not looking at the road a lot of the time. He's looking away so they can address directly into the camera. We don't need to do it this way. Where's your destination? Wherever, especially this one, if wherever you're going to, get there. And I still think we could find a better background than the car, but like, we don't need to be doing this, man. I just don't understand it.
I'll tell you what, I wish I watched these things and I considered the backdrop as much as you. Like I've learned today, and I'll look out for it more.
You're going to notice a lot of cars.
Yeah.
You're going to notice it.
But
it's a nice car. Is that the
red
point?
seat. It looks like a Porsche.
It's nice.
Is that the point we're supposed to get? Is we're supposed to be like the interior of that car looking clean, man? Like, good for you.
We're supposed to be like places to go, people to see. You know, he's busy, man, but he's going to respond here. You know.
He didn't even respond. He just launched a fucking stray at Leon Edwards, basically. Like it's like I'm not going to talk about this fight that I've allegedly turned down.
What's up with poor Leon, man? Why is he
guys,
why is he in season?
Fucking everybody's out for Leon. Man. They're trying to steal Leon's Lucky Charms. They saw what happened with Sean Brady. And then Sean Brady, Mr. Hot Shit of the division now, and they're like, I want me some of that elixir of championship contention. I want me some of that Leon Edwards claret all over my fucking gloves so I can get so I can get to that championship stakes. Not a good place to be for Leon right now. Like he's not getting the attractive situations anymore. Like it's classic kind of after being a champion in the UFC, you'd say. Like, you know, Chuck, this is what happens, unfortunately, isn't it? Like they are trying to make Leon Edwards father for the new generation.
Right.
Yeah.
They also, I think there's something to be said for a guy like he's a former champion, right? So he's still got that juice, even though he's lost a couple of fights. But when you look, there's always like this kind of subtext to this when people start calling you out. And then you look at the top 5 and you're like, well, it's because you're the one guy that they think they can beat in the top 5, like hands down, right? Like they're looking at, if you look at that top 5, it's there's some monsters in there. And I think that people right now are like, let's see if I'm going to topple some. Oh, what about Leon? And I think that that's kind of where he's at. That can't be good for the ego either, you know?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think it would be crazy for Leon. Like Ben, like honestly, if you're anyone to do with Leon, are you like, Leon, do you know what's a great fight? Prates in Brazil, baby. What about that one? Let's think about this. We'll get back on the horse. We'll be right back in there when we take out JDM. I'd be like, stay the fuck away from that fight, Leon. That's what I mean. Say the flip. Sorry. Stay away from that, Leon. Go ahead, Ben.
I think what Leon is suffering from right now, what you're seeing and the way other people are treating him, is that you're somebody where they go, this guy still has a name. Lately, I don't know if his heart is in it. He seems more beatable now, but also it seems still like a win that would mean something for you. And yet he doesn't have enough like personality points with the UFC or with fans or anything that they look at this guy and they go, he's doesn't have another option. He can't wait around for the title shot to come back his way. Like that's not happening. He's got to take some of these fights. He does not have the ability to kind of pick and choose. So I can pick on him. He was looking strong. Now he's looking like food, and that's what they're thinking. I think that's definitely the calculation that is going through these guys' minds. They're not picking him because they're like, Leon Edwards is as good as he's ever been, and that's why I want to fight him. Absolutely not.
It's a rough spot to be in. It's a rough spot to be in, lads. Listen, I know I teased you before the first break of the day, but get ready to be teased even more because I know for a fact that Chuck Mindenhall and Ben Fowlkes have been dying to speak about the big fight. That's what Ben calls it when he's texting me. He just calls it the big fight now.
Big
it's
fight.
Jake Paul v Tank Davis. And
big guy. That's the big guy upstairs working in our favor here.
And we're going to talk all about the big fight, as Ben calls it, right after this break. I said I wanted a latte, not a cappuccino. Oh, sorry. We're back. Sorry, guys. Great to see you again, Chuck and Ben. Completely normal break there, and we all had a great time with it. I forgot we were talking about Jake Paul and Tank Davis. What a great
big fight,
Chuck. Yeah, the big
it
fight.
You just gonna throw to me? I don't even know where to start on this one, boys, because I feel like it's like one of those digressions in the fight game that you're like, nobody's asking for it, and yet this is the direction we're going to go. And I was at the Tank Davis fight, when he fought Lamont Roach, and that building was left in a state of like, pending, because we were like, well, okay, wait, we just got a majority draw. How are we going to resolve this thing? I think everybody leaves there thinking that that's where you're going. This is a natural, like, organic drama that you now have in Tank Davis's career, and you think you're going to get that rematch, and you end up over here. A guy who's, fighting a guy who is 50 pounds heavier than him, at least, is just, it's so now though. Like, I feel like this is our time. This is like how it is these days, but it still catches you off guard because I still have this old school mindset that you're getting resolutions with these fights or these, series or whatever ends up happening. So if there's an automatic rematch, you kind of want it to play out. I guess that's what kind of bothered me about the whole thing when it was made.
Yeah, it's look, I'm sorry, Ben. I don't really like the fight either. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you.
You don't?
I mean, I know it's crazy, but it's he's outrage farming at this stage, right? Like he is. I was telling Ben this before I went live.
What do you
today.
mean at this stage?
I got angry with his
the
tweet
stage.
yesterday. Where's his tweet? Bring up the tweet there for a second on there, Jordan. Do we have that there? I was like shouting at my phone yesterday to the point where Elaine was like, "Mate, what the like? You know what I mean? You need to really have a look at yourself." Gervonta, who has been disrespecting my name for too long, his nickname might be Tank, but I'm an FPV drone and I'm about to disable Tiny Boy. Yes, he's one of the top pound for pound boxers of the world, but my motto is anyone, anytime, any place. That's when I start losing my shit, I think, against all odds. And I like my odds. Yes, so do. First, I'm going to kill David. Then I will go on to slaughter Goliath. I believe he's talking about Anthony Joshua there. Bit of a size difference between Joshua and Davis, of course. But, Ben, in all seriousness, tell me how you reacted to seeing this mega fight being made.
You know that the first thing I did is just to make sure that I wasn't tripping, is that I went and I looked up the official listed height for Gervonta Davis just because I was just like, hold on. Are we am I thinking of the right guy? Am I thinking of a different Tank Davis? 5'5", by the way, is the listed official height for him.
Crazy.
So it's gonna be visually hilarious in the lead up to the fight. I do appreciate that. I appreciate a little bit of just like visual physical comedy. But it does seem like Jake Paul's doing a thing where you're right. The whole thing from the beginning has been, how can I make people mad enough that they somehow go, no, damn it, this can't be allowed to continue. And he successfully did that to us as the MMA community for a while, right at the beginning, where he fought Ben Askren, and he fought Tyron Woodley, fought Anderson Silva, stuff like where we were kind of sitting around and being like, listen, this can't happen. We can't allow there to be a world where Jake Paul can walk the earth saying he has a win over somebody like Anderson Silva. And it worked on us. And then he tried to do it some to the boxing people, and it didn't work on them as well until the Mike Tyson one, where that worked. And I think he's still trying to find ways to do that, and also working around and being like, what is available? Who will actually do this? Like, who can I get as a dance partner for something like this? And honestly, you yelling at the tweet kind of shows that it worked on you. I hate to be the one to deliver that bad news, Petesy, but if you're yelling at the tweet, he got you. That's the reaction he's looking for. He's not really looking for the reaction of somebody being like, Jake Paul, you've done it again, you genius.
It's really not the Jake Paul part. Like, Jake Paul's going to do what he's going to do. It's when he, gets like, it's in this case a champion, right? Like, it's when he it's almost like when they used to announce Tough, and they'd be like, hey guys, this champion's going to be going against this guy, and you're like, great, so they're going to be on the show for a year, that, and so it was kind of land with a thud. It's like I guess that's what it is. You're taking a guy kind of out of his element. I know it's happening in November, which isn't that far off, but still, you're taking a guy out of his natural, like, where he should be. You have a fight for him. You're taking him out of that and putting him into this other situation, which, let's be honest, I don't know how you guys feel, but every time I think I've come out of a Jake Paul fight, it's like the walk of shame, right? Like, oh God, man, I never feel like, even if you don't pay for it, it never feels good after a Jake Paul fight. You're always just like, why do I keep doing this to myself? So I feel like you're still setting this up for something. I don't know exactly how this will play out, but if you recall, in 2017, Gervonta Davis was fighting Francisco Fonseca. Remember on the card that Conor McGregor was fighting Mayweather. He was on that card, and I remember at the time the boxing purists, and there were a few of them there at that event, which was a huge crossover. You had every kind of celebrity and every kind of media. But he was the one holding down the boxing purity of it. Like, he was the one kind of like, he was fighting in his fight. There were a couple of others. It was a pretty good undercard, but like, they were the ones kind of keeping the boxing alive part of it, right? Like, we're like, this is pure boxing. Then we'll get to our circus show at the top and see how that plays out. It's crazy that, like, 8 years later, You know, here's Tank Davis, who was affiliated at the time with Floyd Mayweather and all that, is actually the guy doing that. It's a strange trajectory when you think about that. When you've watched these guys go from one thing to the next, and to end up in a situation that you're sort of like, you know, bemoaning at the end of the first one. Like at that 2007, it's not exactly the same thing, but it shares those qualities, right? Like it shares those like circus tent qualities that you're like, I want to be done with it, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because they've actually followed the same formula the whole time. Like even if you're like where the Mike Tyson showing his ass to the world on the broadcast of Netflix, his fight with Paul, they had Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano
Right.
like in that spot beforehand, which was it turned like anyone that was watching that fight, it really helped them kind of show like this is a real boxing fight on this card. Like that really helps these promotions, like you know, to be like this is real, this is as pure as it gets. What's happening between Taylor and Serrano, and then this thing is going to happen later on. But I feel like Ben, like they have to do something like that again, right? Like Netflix for their good, like for the sake of, I mean, I don't know anyone in Netflix, but like these are getting involved in these fights. One is Tyson, 6-year-old Tyson, 30-year age gap. Then this one, this crazy freak show with Tank Davis. Surely they have to balance the books a little bit here and put on a real boxing fight in the Serrano Taylor slot.
I don't know. Maybe they don't feel like they do. I think that, don't you think they came out of that Tyson Jake Paul thing being like, well, it worked. That
Yeah.
it did exactly
108 million, right? Like,
Yeah,
and that's all they care about. It doesn't matter if all the regrets are in place. You know, it's
right.
like,
Well, yeah, and especially because what we heard from Netflix people coming out of that, where they were like, "This is what we want: is big tentpole sports events like this,
Yeah.
more so than just owning the rights to a sport, kind of on a weekly basis. Like we want big events that get people talking." And that, you know, it was the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson part of that. Clearly, that got everybody talking. And that was what created a really rare thing in combat sports, which was a night where it felt like all of America was tuning in, but much of the world was tuning in to watch the same thing, talk about it all together, all live, focused on one event. And it was a fight sports event that just doesn't happen very often. That's kind of like our Super Bowl, sad as that is to say, given what the fight actually was. The thing about Jake Paul's whole gimmick, though, is that it only works if you seem to be constantly turning up the heat in one way or another. And that gets hard to do because he has to find a way. He did it pretty well early in the career where he was going from, all right, you saw me fight a broke down wrestler and I knocked him out. Let me fight a guy who actually has some knockouts. Let me fight a guy who's a broke down striker. He has to ramp it up somehow. And also ramp it up without getting himself literally killed in the ring. And so those are two kind of tricky things to balance. Like, you know, he wants to go out there and have a good time. He doesn't want to go out there and be foolish, however, and get his head knocked off. And so it's tricky to find those, like, find somebody who's going to say yes, find somebody that other people are going to want to watch, that it's going to feel like we are moving forward. Because he's had a couple of those stumbles where he was trying to do just regular boxer stuff, where he was fighting people who made sense for where he was in terms of his development as a boxer, and nobody gave a damn. They sent a very clear message. We don't want to see Jake Paul, the legitimate boxer. We want to see Jake Paul, the freak show boxer. And so he's now corrected in the other direction.
Can I ask, Ben, just on the back of that point, how would you feel if they announced a Joshua fight yesterday, not this fight?
Concerned.
For who?
Yeah.
I could feel very concerned for Jake Paul, because I'd just be like, man, sometimes you start having so much fun with a gimmick.
Yeah.
You go out there and get yourself hit by a truck, and the gimmick's not going to be very fun at that point. So, I mean,
He's going to take out David and then Goliath. That's who he's talking about. We're going to see it eventually.
The natural progression from.
But do you believe that progression will happen? Like, I guess, like we're talking about the fact that like we're kind of entering the fuck around and find out kind of situation here for Jake Paul as he slowly escalates this. Like as great as Davis is, the escalation from a 5'5" guy to a behemoth like Joshua, like he looks like he's been carved out of marble, for Christ's sake. We've seen what he did to Francis Ngannou. Like, do you believe Like, it seems like that there was at least conversations happening about this fight. Do you believe that he will pursue that, or will that be just a dangled carrot only to take on a lesser opponent again, claiming that, in fact, in the future, I will fight Anthony Joshua?
I mean, it does feel like if you're trying to find ways to constantly up the ante, you're going to get around to one of those kind of fights eventually, right? And I also think it's hard for me to tell to what extent does Jake Paul believe his own hype? Because I think to a lot of extent that is probably the case. Like I think he knows what he's doing. He's very savvy as a self-promoter. He just kind of seems to have a preternatural gift for that. It's worked really well. But I also think one of the things that it took us a long time to adjust to early on in the kind of the Jake Paul experiment was the idea that no, he really thinks he's a boxer. He's not just out here thinking of himself as I'm an influencer who boxes. I'm a celebrity who has found a way to monetize that celebrity, and that platform is boxing. He thinks of himself as a boxer and genuinely believes that he is going to be a great boxer by the end of whatever his career is. And so if you told me that he talked himself into thinking like, yeah, I'll go out there and beat Anthony Joshua, I'll surprise a lot of people. I might believe that. I might believe that he believes that.
A more natural segue would be Ngannou, right? Like you fight the guy who got blasted by him, but at the same time you're still escalating with a major puncher like that. But you're fighting a guy who's a little like far greener, right, than you'd fight with Joshua. So I feel like if that happens eventually, it'll probably go through something like that. Don't you think? His progression has been all over the place, but you're right, Ben. Each time he's adding an element. It's like he's on a soundboard and he keeps messing with each knob. He's like, okay, this guy's got this, but I'm advantage here, like I'll weigh him by 50 pounds. So I feel like that would be the natural thing.
Here we go. We can obviously see there Nikisa Badarian, Jake v Tank was always the plan for 2025, and discussions for Jake v Joshua has always been for first half of 2026, and those negotiations continue. I mean, I for the amount of conversations about the Tyson fight where it was like, oh, these two guys have a gentleman's agreement, blah blah blah, like they're not trying to kill each other. I think that's going to be ramped up quite significantly in the lead up to this Tank Davis fight. Now, lads, we're going to have to say goodbye to our beautiful people who have joined us on the Yahoo Sports Network. I mean, what an experience for you guys watching the Craic for the first time. It's kind of like listening to Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club for the first time. You're going to go and tell people like, holy shit.
Exactly like that. It's exactly like that.
It's a life-changing experience. But I'll be happy to tell you all that, you can come over to YouTube now, and we're going to be breaking down that low-key banger in Shanghai. We're going to be talking about the PFL finals. I spoke to Fabian Edwards, the main man over there. He's fighting an American guy that looks like he's in the cast of American Pie. Chuck Mindenhall spoke to Brian Ortega. It will be out tomorrow. And Ben Fowlkes talked to Aljamain Sterling. But for right now, we'll say goodbye to our lovely TV people. What a lucky day for you. Join us again. Yeah. Not next week, but the week after.
Goodbye, 15 minutes of fame.
Welcome back, crackheads. We're on the main line now. The YouTube. We love you more than the TV guys, obviously. Like, I mean, come on. You know, you're the reason we're here, really, crackheads. I don't think the TV people are crackheads. Only you guys, okay?
Wow.
Just saying. Oh,
Wow.
I said it, okay? I don't, like, who are they? I don't even know those people, okay? I don't even know. I'm sure they're lovely people. But anyway, look, the hardcores are here, and we've got some fucking fights to talk about this weekend. Proper fights. Low-key banger is an expression I've used 3 times today in reference to the Shanghai card, boys. I mean, on very early as well. You have a little bit of oatmeal, perhaps. Oatmeal? Coffee?
Yeah.
You'll have
What's the start time on this one? What I mean, and
it's like,
put it in American terms.
2 a.m. Chuck's time, I think it gets underway at, like. So that's
sounds like I won't be watching.
This is like, am I right about this? On air, Jordan, can you check my facts here? This is every fucking fight card I watch. This is every fight card I watch.
No.
Okay? You're insulting my life.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm not doing that, Petesy.
That's absurd. How did I not realize this? Okay, all right.
I mean,
you know what?
two guys.
That's like
you
what
two guys.
in the
Like,
true the mountain time zone, the true time zone. That's what 1 a.m. That's not bad. You'll still be up anyway.
If I'm still up, it's not gonna be, you know, to watch prelims from Shanghai. Like, especially if that's the start. Is that the total card start time? That's not even main card start time.
that's just starts going, man.
Oh my lord.
Okay,
this is what you do.
main
This-
card 6 Eastern. Hey, that's kind of good news for me because it means you'll wrap it up basically in time for me to sit down with a cup of coffee and skip through the filler, which is how I like to enjoy it anyway. They make you sit through a lot of crap on the UFC Fight Night cards, throwing it back and forth at a desk, all this, and you're just like, ain't nobody got time for that. Not for this kind of fight card. Skip to the part where the Mountain Tiger knocks out Johnny Walker in a way that makes him flop around on the cage like the inflatable guy outside the car wash. Like, nobody gets knocked out funnier than Johnny Walker. And this is exactly the kind of fight that seems like it was set up for him to get knocked out funny in front of like a supportive crowd for the man, the Mountain Tiger.
He gets hurt generally weird, right? Like even doing the worm.
He gets hurt weird. That's on his fucking gravestone. That man gets hurt weird.
I saw a video I had never seen before. Somebody posted it on Twitter where it was a fight of his from like Jungle Fight from before he was in the UFC where he gets knocked out all weird. And I was like, this guy's been doing it longer than I realized.
You're so right, man.
He did it on the regional scene in the UK as well. He lived in Scotland for a while, way before he came to Ireland. Like it's a very strange guy. What I will say is, just on that point, as Ben was talking about him getting hurt weird, my friend texted me this morning saying, how is it that the Mountain Tiger is the same odds to win as he is to win by KO? And I was like, I think you've answered your own question there, buddy.
Yeah.
I think
that's the way it's going to go.
You know what that is. Look, you guys talk to both sides of the. I suppose it would be a chief support because it's a hell of a fight between Brian Ortega and Aljamain Sterling. The Ortega article is to go out tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah.
So you guys can check that out on Friday. But firstly, what kind of mood did you find Aljo in, Ben?
You know what? I was surprised with Aljo's forthrightness in a lot of ways, and just like he's a very self-aware guy, an honest guy, a smart guy, and so I was a little bit surprised he was willing to just lay it all out there. When I asked him kind of, what do you see this fight as, you know, as why they book you two guys against each other here? And he was like, it's a crossroads fight. Like, one, you know, they'd see two guys at this point in their career and they go, one of them's on his way down. The other one can still go up. Which one is which? And that's what they're trying to figure out when they match the two of us up here. And I went, yeah, I mean, that's pretty accurate. That's a guy who's been in this sport long enough to know how it works. But also when I kind of asked him about where he felt like he was overall as, you know, a 36-year-old featherweight at this point and former champ, and he said, I could see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know the end is coming. And when I asked him at some point, I was like, what's that feeling like to know the end is coming? And he said, it's depressing. Because, you know, he said also, he was like, I can tell just by how my body feels a lot of the time. Training hurts a lot more now than it used to. He says, I'll get to periods where I feel pretty good, pretty healthy. I think it made a big difference for him moving to Las Vegas, where he could use the Performance Institute and get into physical therapy there, because he said in New York he wasn't really doing any of that. But he's also like, hey, I'll be feeling good. I'll ask for a fight. By the time they finally give me one, it's 6 to 8 weeks later, and something hurts. And so I can kind of tell, you're not going to be able to do this indefinitely. You're closer to the end than you are to the beginning, and it made him reflect a little bit on like when he was the young guy who showed up in the UFC and was on a winning streak and everything. But I think he also realizes this: if you still have any hopes of accomplishing something big, maybe making a last title run or just getting some last big fights in, this fight against Brian Ortega, this version of Brian Ortega in this spot, you've got to win it. You can't lose this one, especially he's a pretty sizable favorite in this fight. He seemed not that pleased that it's a 5-round co-main event, which is weird for this situation. Especially it's like if you're not going to pay him anymore, because it's not like anybody was going to be sitting around and be like, Aljo and Brian Ortega is only 3 rounds.
I know
that's crap, man. We need 5 full rounds. Like this is the kind of fight where people would go, we'll probably see what we need to see inside of 3 rounds, so I can understand his feelings on that one. But I do think he realizes if you want to still do something with whatever time is left, you need to beat Brian Ortega.
Yeah. It feels to me like they put this together with sort of like that. Well, what do you do with this guy? What do you do with this guy? Well, put them together. Let's, I don't know if there is a set of definitive stakes. I was asking Brian Ortega this thing too. And I mean, I don't know. I felt like I kind of had the opposite experience that Ben had. Like, I felt like I was keeping him up from a nap because he was, he was kind of like lying on his bed. He was lying on his bed and he was just kind of giving you the, what a ride, bro. Like that kind of thing. It's been a crazy journey. No, man. I was so tempted to ask him about it, but it just seemed like he was drowsy. So I was like, I didn't want to get too deep into stuff, but he kind of is in the same spot, right? Like he's basically he's 34 years old. I think he's 2-4. He looked in his last 6 fights, and he looked pretty. I thought he looked pretty bad at the Sphere. He didn't look like himself in that fight against Diego Lopez. And so you're just basically asking him the same things. And I think he's kind of like, as long as because I think he's ranked 50th. Like, as long as I win, I'm always within earshot of that like title, and that's still the goal. But you wonder if I was trying to say to him, man, is it sometimes like, since there aren't any obvious title implications, you get a fight like this, isn't it sometimes just the most simplistic way to be like, my job isn't to worry about anything like that, just to go win the fight. Like you just want the most simplest view on it, because all those, when there's a lot of stakes attached, or maybe there's a title fight and all that like looming, it tends to get in your head a little bit. Isn't it better to just kind of approach it like, I just need to win a fight. That's all. It's as simple as that. And, he kind of agreed, but he did sound like he was like still thinking about a title fight at some point soon, So you never know. I feel like there's a little bit of a delusion sometimes with these guys, and I'm not sure if it's just like he's kind of giving you the rote answers that he thinks he should, or if he believes that.
Yeah, there is some really nice fights on this card. Like, and I feel like this Pavlovich Waldo Cortez Acosta finally got his name right. This fight is important for heavyweight. Like every like anything that's happening in this division suddenly feels important because there's a champion again. Like I if this fight happens 4 months ago, we're kind of like, well, what the fuck are they fighting for? Like I can remember even feeling that about Volkov and Gane when they fought. I was like, that everything was still up in the air. Like, this is a great fight between 2 highly ranked guys, and everyone's like, who gives a like what are they? What are the stakes? We definitely have that with Pavlovich, Waldo, Cortez Acosta. Nailed it again. Sumajiri against Kevin Borjas. Kiefer Crosby. This guy is hugely popular in Ireland, Kiefer Crosby, and he was initially meant to fight Keenan Song on this fight. He's fighting a debutant now, Nuraji. But he is a hugely popular dude over there. He's 0-2 since he came to the UFC. This guy used to sell so many tickets for Bellator, for Obama over the years. An SBG for a really interesting story, like from a very, very Irish MMA level. He did an interview with the L Triangle. That's our good friends Andy Stevenson, Quilcha Dobara, and Ian O'Neill. And he kind of said, like, and this is in reference to John Kavanagh and SBG, he was like, I didn't have a coach for my last 4 fights. Like, he didn't really elaborate on that much, but he's over with Eric Nixick now. He's prepared for that fight now. And you got to remember, this is just a week after Artem Lobov's on Ariel's show going like, oh, John's not a coach anymore. So it's just bizarre, like 10 years after like changing the face of MMA, this gym apparently. You've got this coming out. It's a really, really weird wrinkle to all this, but he feels like he's prepared for a fight for the first time since he's been in the UFC. And I think it's the most winnable fight he has had. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets in that one. Mahachete's on there against Gage Young. What a fucking name. Lonir Kavna fights out of the UK.
Now you don't have to beep out your cuss words, man. This is great.
I mean, yeah, we can fuckity fuck fuck. We're back on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lonir Kavna is a savage. He's fighting Charles Johnson. That is a savage fight at flyweight. A lot of shit going down, but we've also got.
Hey, wait, real quick. You were mentioning just how things change, like with the gym over there in Ireland, like all that stuff. I was thinking about like this would have been a big deal, Shanghai. Remember, like when they were like people were trying to get into China and they couldn't do that. Like the like Rough. You remember Rough MMA, RUFF? They were like their claim to fame was, hey, we got into China, and that's the market. Like they were going to tap into 1 billion people at once, It's crazy that this is like flying so far under the radar nowadays. Like, oh, they're going to China, and then next week it's wherever. But it's like just any other event, isn't that nuts?
That where Chris Barnett was he in Rough?
He might have been. I don't remember. I just remember their claim to fame was they were in mainland China. They were like doing events in China. They were the only sanctioned show in town that could get in there. This was before the UFC got in there by far. But it was such a big deal. I felt like we used to always talk about this stuff like, man, can you imagine if the UFC starts to make it into China and all these places? Now we just just take it for granted. We don't even pay any attention to that.
Then we go, you think the UFC are going to go to Spain? And everyone laughs. Like,
I know. No, they don't know.
Talking about it, crazy. Something cool? No way. But yeah, it isn't the only fight this weekend, lads. There are lots of fights, but one that's particularly it's captured my attention in a way I did not think it would. And you can tell me if I have a strictly European sense on this, guys, and I would like you to tell me.
Okay.
Does Dalton Rasta look like every bully in every American coming of age film you've ever seen? Because, I mean, I feel like he's like should be wearing a Letterman jacket. He should be beside like a cheerleader. He should stuff some guys in the lockers, and he acts like it too, right? Like, we could just play the clip on air, Jordan, please. Like, is this just me? Come on, have a go with this. Do we have it? We don't have it. Oh. We have there's these incredible interactions between Fabian Edwards and Dalton Roster where Dalton just shows up and he's immediately talking shit. Like he's talking about his forehead, he's talking about like I'm gonna fuck you up, and you can see Fabian in real time being like, I feel like I'm in a movie right now. And you can see him like, I said this to him, I was like describing exactly what I said to you guys at the start here to him just the other day, and he cut me off. He's like, a jock, you're talking about a jock, and I was like, that's what I'm talking about. But have you guys seen any of these fucking interactions? It's absolutely wild. I know Ben's a massive PFL fan, so I assume Ben's seen all of this.
I haven't seen any of their interactions. I mean, I do say, look, when a guy goes by the nickname Hercules, I feel like he's trying to tell you something about how he views himself, how he would like to be viewed, something like
Very
that.
Muscular. He's very muscular. And Fabian has said some comments about his muscularity didn't really rub Dalton up the right way.
The phrase we like to use over here is looks good getting off the bus, which is to say, like you'd go, you'd play in high school football, some team would come, you'd see all the guys getting off the bus and you go, oh shit,
we're in trouble.
We might be in for it today, boys. But then sometimes you get out there on the field and you go, actually, no, we're in pretty good shape here. They looked a lot scarier than they ended up being. So, like, who knows? But I find it interesting that Petesy seems to have a visceral reaction here, where he sees this guy and he feels like he is already halfway bullied. Just by the man
that's got some issues,
Nobody looks like that in Ireland. Not a single dude I went to school with looked like that.
Lots of guys look like that in America.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, what the fuck? I've never seen a dude like this in my life. It's
anybody who's been to high school in America has seen a dude like that.
But it's funny because Fabian described his feelings to me about this, and he's like, everyone knows the Edward story, right? Like their dad was like a gang leader. Like they grew up in like one of the most gang affiliate areas in Birmingham, which is full of gangs, Peaky Blinders, etc. And like they could have went down this path. They were very nearly down this path of being like involved in gang life and gangland culture. And then their mother forces them into an MMA gym and they become these two incredible fighters. And like this guy's talking all this shit to Fabian and he's like, I can't believe he's saying this to me, which is an interesting thing. You actually have it now on our Jordan, you legend. Give them a little look at this.
The only clown is this motherfucker. Look at his head. Okay. You could literally perform a circus on that thing.
Please do.
I'm actually curious. Is your forehead always that big, or is that your hairline?
Will that?
Yeah, are you receding, or you just got a big
I
ass
shave it
forehead?
all up. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Why don't I care about my forehead? You're focused on the wrong things. I'm gonna open up your forehead, 100%.
We'll see.
I'm gonna put a naughty scar across the forehead. You'll see. You'll see about that.
Yeah, there's a dickishness involved here, man. That's like he's like he wants to give a wedgie or something, stuff him in a locker.
God help him if he's ever accused of putting something in a girl's drink. People are going to look at that man's face and be like, "He did it." That's the face that would do that. You know?
Did it.
It's just very funny for me to watch them like Fabian going like, what the fuck is going on here? But I will say, he's made me very excited for this fight. Like a lot of people are onto me. Obviously, they know Fabian's a big name over here. A lot of people very, very interested in it. And look, if he manages to get it done, fair play. Like you have made this interesting. You look, you probably haven't got a lot of people in the UK going, hope Dalton gets the job done. But I mean, we know who you are now, and we're intrigued. That is all the fights we're going to talk about. But Chuck, I believe there's been a big announcement from one of your favorite promotions. We don't have any graphics to support this, but a few weeks ago,
it exists. Trust me.
Tell us what's happening.
Well, you guys know that I was at the inaugural Ice Wars out in Michigan, and I had written a piece, and I had talked about it. I find it very intriguing. I hope you do too, Ben. I know that you're a hockey guy, but like I found it very intriguing that they're doing this fight league. But there were a couple of complaints. One of them was they were on like synthetic ice, so it was like they're on plastic. They're not really on ice. And the other thing was when it's called dropping the gloves when you're in a hockey game, and yet they were wearing MMA gloves. So I think they took it all to heart because they're doing their first big event, and it's going to be it's where the Florida Panthers play at the Amarant Arena on October 10th, and they're going to do it like on the ice there. Wow. They're going to drop the gloves. They got sanctioned. This wasn't the case in Michigan. They got it sanctioned. They're going to use bare knuckle, and I'm intrigued, fellas. I mean, this is what I want to say. The main thing I'm always like, what are the nuanced kind of skill sets that you have to have, in these types of situations, and how does it evolve? To me, I can't figure this out exactly yet, other than watching hockey fights and the guys that have the little tricks, what they do.
Oh yeah,
But there is something about it that I'm like, how does this, if it's strictly about fighting, and they probably say like, no sticks, no pucks, just dropping the glove, just bare no, I'm all about it. I'm excited about this thing, man.
Are they going to wear different colored jerseys this time?
I don't know.
It's easier to tell.
I don't know.
That was the other thing.
That was weird, yes.
Where I was just like, you have such an opportunity to set them apart because they're going to wear jerseys. Why do the jerseys look so almost identical?
Yeah, other than the sleeves, because the one I was at was Canada versus USA.
That's right.
So that's all. That was the only distinguishing.
But you had to really look hard to even see that.
No, they got to fix that too. Yeah.
But you're right about the ice part. Is to be doing it on real ice makes a difference because it is literally in the name.
Yes, it is in the name.
How are you going to have ice wars if you don't have ice?
And also, it's a bare knuckle. It's an arm of the bare knuckle thing. So you're like, well, then you got to drop the gloves. You got to have bare knuckle. So they've got it the right way. So I'm intrigued to see kind of now what it'll look like. So now that it's really kind of replicating what a good NHL goon fight would look like.
I just wish Uncrown would send Chuck and Ben there and just have the camera right on them as Chuck's like trying to get Ben into it. Who cares about the fucking sport? Look, this is what we want.
The thing is, when you watch hockey fights that erupt during a game, the actual fighting is usually not that great. Especially when to somebody who watches fight sports and has seen a lot of fight sports and enjoys that part of it. You watch a hockey fight, and a lot of time we're pulling each other down by the jersey, or we're not landing a whole lot of clean blows. The thing that makes it interesting is the context in which the fight erupted, whether it was because, hey, this is payback for you guys laid a hit on our star, or this has been simmering since the last time we played each other, or just like, hey, we're down 6-1. Our fans are going to leave. We got to give them something. Would you mind? And that's
Quebec League stuff.
Yeah, that's kind of the funniest part to me, is sometimes where they're just like very politely like, hey, would you mind?
I know they skate up to the line.
Go ahead and get a fight?
The puck
and the other
drop, and
guy's
they're like, you want? Okay, let's just throw him.
Yeah.
I love
Maybe
that.
they could do like an AI reimagining, like WWE. Like, I don't watch it at all, and then I'll turn on WrestleMania, and they have the vignette beforehand where they're like, "This is what this guy did." Hit him with the steel chair. We just make up a fake hockey scenario and then put Ben there and like, look, this guy's just after hitting the star player. Now his mate is gonna fucking sort this fucking shit out. And then Ben's like, I'm in. You know, this is all I needed. I just need a little bit of context. Before we go, Ben, I was wondering if you could give us the latest on Sean Strickland. I heard he's gonna sort everything out based on this new suspension he got.
Yeah, the news I saw come across just before we started was that the Nevada Commission has decided what they're going to do with him after he charged in wearing sandals at the doing the I'm wearing sandals walk to come in and take a swing at the guy who was fighting his teammate at one of those regional events in Vegas. And I believe they said like a $5,000 fine, 6 months suspension, unless he would take an anger management course, and then they would reduce the suspension to 4.5 months. Now, I can't tell. Is Sean Strickland the kind of guy to just stubbornly refuse your anger management course and be like, give me the extra month and a half? I don't care. I'm going to continue to be angry and manage it poorly. Or is Sean Strickland the kind of guy to go to your anger management class just so he can come out, sit in the front seat of his car, talk to the camera on Instagram Live, and talk shit about how dumb the anger management class was?
You know, it'd be a great feature for you, Ben, is you go to that anger management class with Sean Strickland and report on how that went. That would be, I would love to read that piece.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
How the fuck can we make that happen? Oh my God, that would be the most incredible feature ever, man. You could be standing outside the car as he's doing the video. You know what I mean?
What if I come out of there and I've been Sean Strickland pilled and I'm totally angry now? Like, it has not only has it not worked for him, it has radicalized me, and it ends up being the worst thing that ever happened to me. I don't know. I'm willing to take the risk for the sake of the content, because
I'd read it.
Great.
We just need to write this down now. We are sending you to Ice Wars together, and then Ben to Sean Strickland's anger management class.
Got it.
That's great. Yeah, let's get that down. And listen, guys, this was the Craic for the first time on TV. They're not here anymore, so we can be like crackheads for you. We love you so much. They didn't get any. Did I tell them I love them? I can't remember. Did I? I probably did.
I'm
sorry.
Sure you did.
Okay, I'm a lawyer. What do you want me to do? All right. But we're here. It's Thursday. This isn't our usual slot. You know, crackheads. We usually do Fridays. You know, we did the TV thing. It's no big deal. I just don't want to get mobbed when I'm walking down the streets. I'm still a normal guy. I put my pants on one leg at a time like everyone else. Anyway, we're not going to be here next week. We're all going away or something. But then the week after that, we're going to be back doing the show on Friday, I guess. On Friday, Jordan?
You don't know.
You can neither... Yeah. Neither confirm nor deny what day we're doing, but we're going to miss you so much, especially you, the YouTube people. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're the real ones. Listen, have a great weekend.
There it is.
Great time!
I was waiting.
Great time!
I never fucking think about it. Jesus Christ. All right, Hello, guys. Do you think Brandon Moreno will get another title shot? Tittle shot, it says. But listen, Sam. Chuck, do you want that one?
I haven't given that two seconds of thought, I'll be honest with you guys. But I mean, he could, you know, like, I feel like that's pretty tightly bunched grouping there, you know, at the top of that division. The only problem is, how many times do you want to see that fight if it's still Pantoja, right?
Yeah, it's been a number of times. You know, I'm gonna say yes. Okay. He will get.
He's the kind of guy who feels like he could always at any moment get a title shot.
Yeah.
Right? Especially because sometimes in that division, the UFC has seemed to take the attitude of like, I don't know, whatever we got, man. Who like this is the date that it works on the calendar. Just call around, see who says
especially
yes.
in that division.
Yeah.
Is that?
Is there more?
Oh, there we go. Oganator 4,200. Oh, I think Ian maybe turned it down because there's still a couple of months until the JDM fight, and he's concerned someone else might fight closer to then. Now, I can't get my brain. Can someone explain what that means? I'm sorry. My brain isn't.
I think he's talking about like maybe recency thing. So he wants to be closer to the fight, the actual title fight, so that his name will be more,
Like,
relevant to that picture.
Yeah, but like this is the thing with Ian. He is incredibly strategic. Like,
Yeah.
he isn't. He's a very smart guy. He thinks about these things all the time. Like, genuinely, I know he's got a kid now, and obviously he's married. But the guy I met, it's all he thought about. Like, everything was just fighting. If you mentioned a fighter, you're like, I would beat him, and you're like, I'm not. That is a separate conversation that we'll have. But right now, I'm just mentioning something about the guy. Like, he's uber competitive. I think he's plotting his way to the title, same way as Sean Brady is. But look, I think Sean Brady, if you're trying to play this out in public, he probably did the right thing. Like, that is the fight everybody wants to see. Like, that would be an absolute, that would cement number one contender status for whoever won it. And look, I'm here for it. And so is Ben, who loves drama, and so is Chuck, who loves drama.
I do.
We call them the drama boys. That's what we call them. Do we have anything else for the drama boys?
Yeah, there's another super chat. Won't show the name. Inappropriate. We'll just call him Stinky. It says, if GC, Rick, and Frank are the boys, are y'all the mates, lads, etc.?
Yeah.
We need both BITB and lads merch.
Oh, lads. What would we do for the merch? We'd have to do a Mindenhall hat. Well, he's already done that. Sorry. He's already got quite a good enterprise going with that shit. I don't know. Drama Boys t-shirts?
Drama Boys.
I think maybe
the Drama Lads.
An artistically rendered image of Petesy talking into a camera while he drives down the highway.
I like that.
Yes, all three of us in the car. Yeah, it would be fantastic. Well, look, listen, I think that's it. Is that I'm allowed to take Oh, sorry. What? Oh,
look.
Ariel Helwani, Petesy has so much aura. Walter Helwani, I mean, what a compliment. Walter, my God. I mean,
there you go. You were hurting for compliments before. Nobody was saying anything nice about you when you went to the studio in New York, and now you finally got it.
He's beaming.
Yes.
Beaming
Thank you,
now.
Walter. Congratulations, mate. I'm the best one. I've been saying this for ages. Everyone's like, oh, Ben, look at his hair. Sorry, I mean, flipping. I need to stop cursing. Walter, I'm a better man than this. I can be better. Anyway, listen.
Now he's back to question himself again, Ben, just like that.
This is it. Listen, drama boys, I love you both. I'm going to make this catch on if it's the last thing I do. Ben Fowlkes, Chuck Mindenhall, I love you very much. On Air Jordan, I love you very much. Oscar Losef, I love you too. Lots of love going around here. Have a lovely, it's not quite the weekend, but like, I mean, some people think Friday's the weekend, and tomorrow, you have all day. You're not gonna have to think about like, where can I get to watch the Craic? You know what I mean? It's already happened. So what you do tomorrow is you replay the episode and send me an email of what I could have done better. Send it to me or the drama boys. Someone's going to get it. Anyway, we love you all very much. I'm very bad at signing off, but I love you so much. Have a great weekend. Mwah.